Hi everybody, it's Cheryl CC Hunt from CC Restyled, and today I'm going to be doing a dresser top, which is laminate material right now, which laminate can't be sanded and stained, and it's kind of tricky to paint because of it'll scratch really easily. So I want to do a faux weathered wood look on top of this French provincial dresser. So to do that, I'm going to be using Retique It liquid wood in the light color. It comes in light, medium, dark, and bleached, I believe. So Retique It liquid wood. I'm using the light wood for this project. I'm going to be using a wood graining tool to create the grains of my new wood. And then I'm going to be using some gel stains, which I'm going to custom mix from the line of CraftNique gel stains and paints. It's basically a clear gel base, and you have all of the pigments, and you can create your own gel stain colors, whether that be traditional wood stain colors or brightly colored gel stains. You could do that as well. I am going to be using Dorinda, one of the owners. She has some great recipes that come along with the kit. So we're going to be using true gray, charcoal, and black to create our weathered, and white as well, to create our weathered wood grain, faux wood grain top. So first I'm going to start by painting on a layer of the Retique It liquid wood, and I'm just going to do that with a flat 2-inch brush. This is synthetic, and I can paint on just like I would regular paint, 1 or 2 coats. I'm going to see how it goes on and decide whether I want to do 1 or 2 coats, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to apply that first coat. Okay, so my Retique It liquid wood has already been shaken and stirred. You want to make sure you shake it and stir it really well. If you are looking to purchase some Retique It products, you can do so on their website, or I have an affiliate link. I'm going to put that in the comments, so that if you would like to go check out what they have, you're more than welcome to do so. So like I said, I'm just going to start painting it on like I would regular paint. And you can tell it's got this really nice thick, what's the word, like not gritty, but it's definitely got some substance. And this stuff is actually made with real wood fibers. So it literally is like putting on a new coat of wood. You can use it on wood that's maybe just not suitable for staining. You can use it on laminates, veneer, any like faux surfaces. I really can't think of too many. Plastic. The owner, Michelle, has a great video that she did, or where she did a plastic, one of those acrylic ghost chairs, and it looks really cool in the wood grain. So you can really put it on just about anything. Anything that you want to create a wood look on. And I'm not really sure what other kinds of brushes people use for this, but I really like that, like I said, 2-inch synthetic bristle brush seems to do really well and get a nice even coverage, and it doesn't leave a whole ton of brush marks, but it goes on really smooth. So I have used this product on a laminate top. I've used it over, I had some particle board pieces or pressed wood or MDF, not real wood that I wanted to make look like wood. And the first time I ever used this product, I was just kind of like, well, you know, I'm not real sure what could make non-wood look like real wood. And you would have no idea, you would be blown away the amount of people who don't believe that it's not real wood once I'm done with the surface. Like it really, really does look like genuine wood. So it's pretty impressive. This is definitely one of my favorite products to use. It's fun, it's effective, it's easy to use, which is really, in my book, when products are easy to use and they work, like that's just a win all the way around, you know. A lot of products claim to do things and they don't, and it's such a disappointment because you're like, you know, you're bummed because you wanted whatever product to do whatever claim it made, and we all know that doesn't always happen. So it's really nice to be able to rely on something like this and know that it's not going to let me down. Like I said, I'm going to be using the gel stain from the CraftNique line that's made by the Crystalac company. You can use traditional stain, other gel stains. I have even used paint to create my wood grain. I prefer the gel stains when I'm using Retique It as opposed to regular traditional oil-based stains. It will work. I just feel like those stains, the oil-based stains almost penetrate it a little bit too much, making it take, you know, a long time to dry, and it kind of takes away the effect of the wood grain, and it almost just looks painted, in my personal opinion. But okay, so I'm going back over this with some long brush strokes one last time just to even all my brush strokes out. And I'm thinking I can get away with one coat on this piece because it's covering really well. So while this is drying, we're going to go ahead and mix up our gel stains, and then we're going to create our weathered gray weathered wood faux wood finish top. Okay, so I feel a little bit like a scientist here, which is kind of awesome because it's fun having control over, you know, the colors that you're using. You can make your own custom colors with this line of CraftNique gel stain and paint. It's like a DIY line, so you can get the white base for paint, the clear gel base to make your own gel stains, and the pigments. There's the metallics too, and I love their metallics. They're super highly pigmented, so there's a lot of sparkle. They're some of my favorite metallics that I've seen. Unfortunately, we're not using that for today's project, but we are using the clear gel stain and glaze from CraftNique. And for the grays and whites that we're going to be using, I needed number 1 and number 8, which is white and black of the pigments. And you just shake these up really well, and they come in little dropper, these droppers, dropper bottles. And this recipe card is great. The sizes that the recipes are for are quite a bit more than we're going to be needing for most of these, so I just did a little bit of math. I got my scale out, and I have my my measuring spoons. So I just did a little bit of math, and I poured what I needed of the clear base into my, I have these two little containers for the black and the true gray, which are the colors I'm going to need a little bit more of. And then the white and the charcoal I'm putting in these little bottles here because these are my last two colors, which I'm going to kind of blend over the top of the faux wood grain, and that's how I'm going to get my weathered look. So it's if I have them in dropper bottles, I can just drop them on and then blend them. So it just kind of made sense. I've already actually mixed up my black and my true gray. Those required a little bit more math, so I went ahead and got those done. I went ahead and made my white. That one was pretty simple. This one, for these bottles, I just used a quarter of the 8-ounce recipe, which is half of the 16-ounce recipe. So these are 2-ounce bottles, so I made enough for 2-ounce bottles. And I'm awful at math, but with the measuring spoons and the scale helped, so it wasn't difficult. I just had to put my mind to it for a second to do that math. So the last color that I need to make is charcoal. So teaspoon number 1, quarter of that would be, a quarter of 1 teaspoon would be quarter teaspoon. So I need a quarter teaspoon of, wait, no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong recipe. For charcoal, I need a half a teaspoon of number 1, so a quarter of that would be 1/8. So I'm going to put an eighth a teaspoon of white in my clear base for true gray. And a quarter teaspoon of 8. So I need a quarter of a teaspoon, which I'm going to eyeball a quarter because I don't have a spoon for a quarter. So we're going to fill this up about a quarter of the way with black, which is not a whole lot. Okay, so and just because I'm using the recipes doesn't mean I can't still adjust it as I see fit. If I start using it and it's not the color I thought it was going to be, you could just add some more pigment or different pigment. But these are looking about right for what I believe we are doing. So I've got my black, my true gray, my white, and my charcoal. So once our Retique It layer is dry, which it should be right about now, I'm going to go over a first coat with the true gray, which is the lighter of the grays. And I'm going to do 1 coat of the true gray over the entire top, directly on top of the Retique It. See the true gray? It's the lighter gray. And then after that, I'm going to wood grain, make the faux wood grain in the black. I'm sorry, brain fart. Okay, so oops. All right, so it was pretty simple and easy, and it made me feel smart because I feel like a scientist. So that's that. That is how easy it is to mix up your CraftNique gel stains that we're going to use on our weathered wood faux finish dresser top. So my Retique It layer is dry. It's got a nice matte, toothy finish to it, so you can definitely tell it's going to grab your paint. or stain. I've got my true gray. I'm going to start with one layer of the true gray, and I'm going to put that on with a foam brush. And the finish I'm going for is, like I said, a faux weathered wood look. To me, that means kind of a grayish wood with just some warm tones and just a little hint of a brown. But I think a lot of times to me gray stains look very blue, and it doesn't usually match what I'm going for. So even when someone says, a gray stain or a gray wood look, in my mind I always picture like a really warm gray, like just a little bit of brown or kind of mocha undertones, I guess. But so I'm just doing one coat of this true gray as my base for my faux wood. And if you want it to be a little more opaque, you can always do 2 coats. Like I said, I kind of like a little bit of the warm brown wood color showing through, or liquid wood color showing through in this case. So I'm just going to do 1 coat that's fairly translucent, but you can see the really nice light gray, and it's creating these kind of strokes, like almost like the fine lines on a wood grain that you would see. And I will show you the whole thing in just a second, a little bit closer up, so you can see how, you can already see how it's going to have a faux wood look to it. So it's pretty cool. Make sure I'm gonna go around my edges here. Okay, so I got 1 coat of true gray. I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. Okay, so do you see the true gray over the light wood Retique It? You're already starting to get kind of those fine wood grain lines. I am going to use a wood graining tool, but honestly, it's because I like a dominant wood grain look, and that's why I'm going to be using black for my wood grain. You could use a lighter color, or you could, if you just want like a sun bleached kind of look, you could get away with the foam brush, and you don't even have to have a wood graining tool to give the appearance of wood. It just appears like a different type of wood. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we are going to do our wood grain layer with the wood graining tool. Okay, so now it is time to do our faux wood grain using our black gel stain that we mixed up from CraftNique. And I am going to be using a flat brush to apply that, and I'm going to do, I like to use a brush that's roughly the same width as my wood graining tool, because I'm going to be doing 1 plank at a time. So I'm going to brush 1 stroke all the way across, or 1, we'll just call it a plank all the way across, and then I'll do my wood graining tool, and then we'll move on to the next one. So I have a cloth. I like to keep a cloth to wipe the excess off of my wood graining tool in between swipes, to kind of avoid the buildup. So maybe have one of those handy if you want. And of course I got my black CraftNique gel stain. So hopefully you can see. I am going to start and the back. No reason in particular, but mostly just so I don't lean over it and, you know, mess it up. So, okay, so I'm going to take my gel stain and just, it looks like I'm painting it on, which I guess technically I am. And you just want to work in small areas at a time so it doesn't dry up on you. So I think I'll just do that little portion. And then my wood graining tool, mine looks like this. There's a couple different versions, but it's basically got this rounded wood grain edge, and you press it down, and then as you're dragging it through your paint or gel stain, you kind of rock it slowly to create different wood grains. You create like a varying wood grain kind of look. And rock it different ways. I will show you up close a little bit better in just a second. Okay, so can you see how I'm getting the wood grains popping through? I'm going to move on to my next plank, we'll call it. Okay, just gently rock it a little bit, the tool, to get a varying wood grain. So, can you see that any better? So that's the start to my wood grain. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the whole top, and then I'm going to let it dry, and then we're going to do our weathered faux weathered look on top of that with another gray and some white of the CraftNique gel stain. Okay, so you're probably wondering if I've lost my mind because this looks nothing like weathered wood yet, but that is why we are going to use our charcoal and white gel stains over the top. What I'm going to do is, so I have them in these squeezy bottles. You could use them out of a cup with a foam roller or a small brush if you wanted to. But basically, what I'm going to be doing is kind of making almost like streaks of the gray and little bits of white here and there, and then I'm going to take my foam brush and I'm going to blend very lightly, just go over those lines that I made with the gel and kind of blend them so that they give kind of like a worn effect. So let's see. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm going to start with my gray, and I'm going to do kind of like streaks almost. So I'm just basically making lines of the stain. It's not an exact science. You just want to make sure to get your areas covered so that when you kind of blend them out with the brush, you'll have enough to cover all the areas. And I used 2 ounces, and it looks like that's exactly enough to cover my dresser top. That's exactly how much I needed, so that's good. I'm going to take my white and I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to do it quite as liberally. I'm going to do some white streaks randomly here and there, but I'm going to go easy on the white. And I can always add more as I see fit. So that is how I'm looking right now. Kind of looks a little chaotic, doesn't it? So I've got my foam roller and it's dry. I'm sorry, my foam brush and it's dry. And I'm just going to start kind of pushing that stain around and getting it to cover. And you'll see, do you see how it's kind of hitting the white and it's not totally blending it together? It's keeping it a little bit streaky, but it's still it blends it lightly, I guess is the best way to put it. You don't want to blend it too much because then it'll all just turn a light gray color. So you want to be kind of gentle and thoughtful with where you're going with the brush. Now, a little bit of white goes a long way, so no need to go overboard with that. Like I said, it's easier to add than it is to take away. Okay, so just kind of going, I'm going to go over it one more time lightly as to not mix my colors too much. And I will show you in a minute from above what it's looking like, but it's definitely getting that more weathered look as opposed to kind of look like a animal print before I got my gray stain on there. But you want to work in long, smooth motions so you don't break up your strokes. I'm going to go around the edge one time. I did not use a graining tool on the edge. I have done that before and it's fine. But on this, what I did is I took I kind of dry brushed some of that black onto the edges. Not exactly dry brush, but I didn't load up the paint on the brush. I just used, you know, what was on there and just kind of lightly went around the edges to make it look like it had some of that wood grain. You'll see here in a minute. I will show you from the top what it looks like and the edges. So I think this is looking like what I was going for. My client is using glaze in her room. Actually, I'm going to go spread out this white a little bit more. Kind of a hard line there. Also, I should mention, sometimes once you get it all spread out, if you have more streakiness that you want, you can take your brush lengthwise and kind of, blend some of that color out, even create even more of the wood effect, if that makes sense. Okay, I think this, I'm gonna go over it one more time for good measure. I think if I go over any more than this, then I'll be blending it too much together. I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to coat it with It's a clear coat. It's called Grand Finale Protective Top Coat in DIY, and it's actually a top coat that you can tint as well with those pigments that we use from the CraftNique line. So it's pretty cool. Tintable. This one is gloss, so I'm gonna go for a gloss look, but I will wait for that to dry and put on the top coat. I'll probably do 2 or 3 coats of that because I want it to be protected and shiny, and it's a really good top coat for that to put over the gel stain. So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. Weathered gray, which is just a blend of white and gray gel stains that I made from CraftNique. That's how it turned out. See, you thought I was crazy when you saw those wood grains, but once you get the top layer of gel stain on there, it really tones that down. That's why I chose black, because I wanted it to still show through, but I knew that the stain on top was going to tone it down a bit. So there we are. That is our weathered faux wood stained dresser top.